in the second bout on the way to a Season 7 trophy, the field turned south from the Brickyard of Speedway, Indiana, to the waves and high banks of Daytona Beach. We're live from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. We welcome you to the second race of Season 7 of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series, presented by Mach10 Digital and the Highland Homes Roofing 200. We've got the coverage on Podium Esports. We're happy to have you join us. We're alongside Dylan Connolly in the booth. I'm Kenneth Bueno. Ryan Bowers, our producer, all night long. He'll be using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Well, Dylan, if we couldn't get enough of the draft pack action we saw 1 week ago at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, boy, we are set for a good one tonight. The next gen's at Daytona. First time we see it since the Summer Series a couple of months ago, where it was a stunning finish. James Bickford got the checkered flag there. But as we creep forward into the rest of the Season 7 schedule, Dylan, how big of a challenge will this race be for those in the field tonight?
Well, the thing that's going to be a big challenge is, last week we had a big crash-up derby. We had a 10 or 12 car accident. Those cars were out of the race. Well, now, unless they really mess up, they can rejoin the race. So we're not going to have as many cars out of the race at the end as we did last week. But it's going to be different because the draft package is different. It's a different kind of racing. It's still, Indy wasn't as much of a super speedway as this will be, but it should be a good one tonight, Kevin.
We had a wildly close finish at Indianapolis 1 week ago between Nick Olson and Brandon Houff, two of the great esports teammates, and so far looking good in practice and as we move forward into qualifying. Currently in the warm-up session, and this is only the second race of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series season, and we look at the entire schedule, and there it is, that highlighted green second layer of text. Next gen at Daytona, that's where we are tonight, October 16th. But then we got Decon a very interesting schedule. We stray away from the large tracks and we go to Michigan with the Gen 4, a combo that definitely is tougher to drive. We got the Watkins Glen track with the Pro 2 trucks. Charlotte Motor Speedway finds its way dead middle of the schedule. Then we go to Bristol with the trucks, GT4s at Long Beach, Pro 4s at Wild West, and Gen 4 at Atlanta, the old version, to end out the regular season before we kick it into playoff time. And we talk about the playoff format and how you have to accumulate points over the season. How important is this race going to be in terms of how things are going to work for the playoff format and how drivers are going to get there?
I think they announced today that before Atlanta, everyone is able to take away their worst finish. So if you have a clunker tonight, you're okay as long as you don't have another one or you didn't have one last week. But every race is important. You might want to go out there with that thought, I'm going to win the race or I'm going to do as good as I can. But if you could just rack up, top 10s every week, keep the car clean, and just get to the end of the race, I think you have a good shot to make the playoffs.
And that started with Nick Olson getting the win last week at Indianapolis. He's at the top of the board, but of course only one race in. Gonna have to build that resume over the next couple of races. And tonight at Daytona might be a big shakeup for those who either missed out on finishing the race at Indy or those just trying to capitalize on another good finish. Let's take a look at the cars we'll be using for tonight's combo at Daytona International Speedway. And Dylan, we go from the very fragile and very quick Dallara IR01s to these slower but stockier NASCAR Cup Series cars. Now, we have 670 horsepower underneath the hood, but we won't be using the full extent of the power. Only going to be 510 here at the Super Speedway, but these cars, of course, destined for a track like Daytona International Speedway, and these drivers at MNR know it quite well.
It's funny you mentioned, we're going a little slower this week. We're only going 200 miles an hour. So these cars will reach 200 to 202 miles per hour in the draft, even with the lower amount of horsepower that they'll have on the car. But these things are tanks. They could take a beating. As long as you don't rip one of the tie rods off, you don't get any engine damage, you can still get all your damage fixed to still be competitive in this race tonight. So it should be good to see how this race goes tonight.
And with some of the drivers we spoke to at the end of the race last week, they talked about how this race was going to be definitely harder to take most of the field out, just because these cars are just a little bit heavier and obviously can last the beating quite a bit. Let's take a look at Daytona International Speedway. If you're a stock car racing fan, there's no introduction needed. This track needed at Daytona Beach, located at Daytona Beach, opened back in 1959, 2.5 miles, 4.023 kilometers, 31 degrees in the banks of turns 1 through 4, and 18 degrees on that tri-oval to the start-finish line. Dylan, this track got a repave a while ago, and obviously a rescan on the iRacing surface. This track appears like it's easy at first glance, but it's always a staple of stock car racing and can get pretty tough to drive when you've got around 39 or so cars around you by inches.
You know, it'll be, I picture it, and I describe it as a traffic jam. You're just going at 200 miles an hour because you'll have road rage, you'll have people all over the place. And this is, it's almost a chess match at high speeds also, because you don't want to just take every run and just go. You kind of want to plan things ahead the way this draft package is, but it should be a good one.
It is going to be a good one here from Daytona. Qualifying and warm-up just came to a close. We're going to head trackside and give you tonight's starting grid of the Highland Homes Roofing 200 and the second race of Season 7 in the Monday Night Racing Pro Series. It's Presley Sora, previous winner at Daytona from last season, will line it up on the pole with a 49.579. He'll be joined by Venturini Motorsports' Monin Rahman and the number 44 on the outside of row number 1. Adam Cabot in the 17 had a pretty decent outing at Indianapolis, but is going to look for his first win of the calendar year. He starts in third. Brandon Helm, who came up just short of the race win at the Yard of Bricks last week, is going to look to get his first Monday Night Racing W. He starts on the outside of row 2. That's position number 4. Mario Miranda for Sooner Esports, looking to prove himself inside the top 5 starting tonight. And Robbie Lyons, Season 3 champion of the very series, will roll off from 6th. Corey Heim is looking to step up from that big crash he suffered on lap 1 last week. He'll be rolling off from 7th. Chase Cabre in the number 39. He'll come away with an 8th place starting position at the green flag. And the final 2 drivers inside your top 10, Gary Sexton in the 3 and Dakota Curtis Dillon making his first MNR start of the season this evening.
So we go back to the next row. In 11th place, Will Rogers will start there alongside last week's winner, Nick Olson. See if he goes back-to-back tonight. Bailey Turner and Matt Stolnick there in the next row. Row number 7, we go back to row number 8. For Martin, the boss man, is over there alongside Connor Berry in the 02 car. Row 9 is Ronnie Osper and Mark Rabillas there in the 99. And back in row number 10, starting 19th and 20th, Jordan Buster and our in-race reporter, Colin Fern. We'll have a word with him in a little bit.
And it would be a lot of fun to talk to over the course of the night. 21st
Yes.
is Joey Patchett in the 83. 21st, Reed Wilson on his outside in 22nd, car number 66. It'll be Cole Cabre in the 51, former Super Speedway winner in the Summer Series a couple of months ago. He rolls off from 23rd. And Raza Caruth in the number 13 alongside at the exit of row number 12. Corey Deucer, who came off of a podium finish at Indianapolis, he'll start inside row 13. James Bickford, the previous winner here at Daytona. Last time we ran the Next Gens here in the Summer Series, he is 26. Alex Monteferrantes, 27. Christopher Tate on his outside in 28th position. Michael Fisher rolling deep from this field in 29th, rounding out the top 30 will be the number 46 of Stephen Ellis. Final 4 in our field, Joshua Slade in the 01 in 31st, 32nd to Brett Baldick in the 4. Devin Henry makes his first start of the season in 33rd, and Steve O'Quam reads up the rear of tonight's 34-car field. It's a sunset evening here in Daytona Beach. Let's take a look at our race analysis. Dylan, what we have on tap for tonight.
So it's going to be 80 laps, 200 miles on the dot, pit road speed 55 miles an hour. Don't even think about going 56. We're going to have 3 attempts at the green-white checkered, and Lord knows we'll need probably all 3 of those. No fast repairs, so that's a big thing. The setup is a fixed setup. Everyone's got the same car, basically. 75% full fuel tank, and they will have 4 tire sets available in the pits whenever they would like.
The big thing when you don't have the fast repairs to your disposal, and that's been a talking point over many Monday Night Racing seasons. And when we started in Indy last Monday night, certainly was a very interesting topic when drivers realized they did not have that fast repair to their advantage. Let's bring in tonight's in-race reporter, and I don't think we really need to introduce him any further. Colin Fern, driver of the 96, rolls off pretty deep in the field here from Daytona. Colin, it's good to talk to you once again. Just give us your insight, expectations of tonight's second race of the season from Daytona.
Well, these idiots are going to wreck a lot, and I'm going to follow up with my strategy from last week where I stole a 6th place finish, and we're going to ride the back. I did not know that we didn't have to qualify, so we qualified and somehow ended up right in the middle of the field. So John's going to have to work a little bit here at the start. But yeah, we're going to ride the back, let the dum-dums wreck it up, and probably finish 8th and go out in like 3rd in points and call it good.
Yeah, I like what you said pre-race last week. You said, hey, I'm not even going to pass anybody, so if you want to go, go. And I don't think you necessarily passed anybody all race last race and you finished 6th. Is that kind of the same strategy tonight?
Yeah, and the thing is, I think for the field sake, they don't want me racing up here because I kind of rate. Am I allowed to swear on this?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I kind of race like a D-bag.
Okay.
So I don't think the field wants me up there racing. So I think it's like a win-win for everybody, you know?
All right, Colin. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun over the night talking to you, whether it be through green or through yellow. We certainly appreciate the time. Best of luck as we get the green flag from Daytona.
Thanks, boys. Have some fun.
You know, it's interesting. Colin Fern was in the booth for a Next Gen at Daytona race in the Summer Series, and boy, that was a lot of fun to call. We'll talk to him over the course of the night, but meanwhile, we focus up front. Presley Sora in the 98 looking to defend his Daytona crown from Season 6, and Monin Rahman, rookie in Season 7, on his very outside. Pace cars down. We're underway in the Highland Homes Roofing 200 from Daytona. Switches underneath Adam Cabot at the exit of turn 2 on the back straightaway. He takes the lead in turn 1. Presley Sora giving him a fight on the outside as Monin Rahman tucks him behind the former race leader on the top side out of turn 2 this time.
What you're going to see all night is that top line is going to be the more dominant line if they have their stuff together. And by the way, Corey Heim signed a new deal for next year. He'll be at Tricon next year again, so good to see him back in the Craftsman Truck Series as he's pushing Presley Asora along on the top line there. Get a lot of great drivers in this race. As you know, they've somehow made it 2 laps pretty clean. There's about a 15-car breakaway, but it's still pretty nonchalant up here as they're just side by side for about 4th on back.
Yeah, we saw a couple of guys duck towards the apron at the exit of turn 2, lap 1. That includes our in-race reporter, Colin Fern. They want nothing to do with the madness up front. They just want to ride these laps for as long as they can. Corey Heim and Monin Rahman switch to the inside, but they'll further go up top. Presley Sora will file in as the 3rd car on the top. And Mario Miranda, how about making it 3 wide? Gary Sexton going to put the 89 in the sucker hole early. Will Rogers in the 55 of Ronnie Osmer make a move on the inside. And a good point there about Corey Heim, and it's awesome seeing the real-life success that he's had over the 2023 season. And obviously, it's always cool when you get him in Monday Night Racing, especially leading a couple of laps. And here's last week's winner by 7/1000ths of a second. Decon Nick Olsen already trudging through the field. He's 13th.
You're going to see a lot of comers and goers here. You're going to see a lot of guys that might have started at the back that'll end up at the front at some point. So, I mean, you really want to try to control this race like I think Corey Heim is. Corey Heim's probably in that mindset like, hey, I want to get in front of this thing as they get a little tight there. 3 wide there for 5th place. It looked like that hole was closing up, but it opened back up, saying we're still racing. So it's starting to get a little dicey. They're trying to get that middle lane working. They've got the top going. They're getting that side draft from the wall. So they're at full song right now here coming to lap 4.
It's sort of interesting to see the aggression stepping up at least a little early on, and that was initial contact between Will Rogers in the 7, Adam Cabot in the 17. Luckily, no harm, no foul. We get to stay green and no big crash at the front of the field. The look on board of Ronnie Osmer in the 55. He's on the bottom side, and right behind the driver we just talked about in Will Rogers, the 7 machine. Car sideways behind them, that's the 41. Matt Stallnick got set out of shape by Mario Miranda, and they will lose the draft. Decon, that's big. They make a mistake up there near the outside wall. The 41 got into it. Miranda had to check up and got into him slightly, and now their race trajectory going to be basically changed here as they'll file in with the 2nd pack.
Well, so it's essentially as they're going to get put in the sucker hole right there as Chase Cabre, Chase Cabre and Jordan Buster going by there. You know, if they get their stuff organized back here, this 2nd pack can catch them no problem since they're going 3 wide up here. But oddly enough, a lot of the draft packages here, the cars tend to go faster when they're 2 or 3 wide like this versus just sitting in a single file line. I know it sounds pretty stupid, but trust me, it's a physics thing and it works. So if you see them trying to catch a pack and they're going 3 wide and they're pulling away, well, that's why.
You know,
Because they're just going faster.
Yeah, I never understand
I'm not a physics guy.
The 2 to 3 wide, and then they end up going faster than guys going single file. There's a look on board with Gary Sexton. Adam Cabot moves right in front of him. A little disappointed with what's happening at the moment in front of him. It looks like he does not have a substantial push by Will Rogers, so they will hang back quite a bit. And that Toyota Camry, sponsored by Liquid Death, will fall back through the top 10. Adam Cabot will have a chance to get to the inside of Presley Sorrell, but he'll duck right behind that Ford Mustang. Corey Heim continues to lead this race. Now, Corey had a very interesting situation. Dylan on lap number 1 last weekend, you basically called it as he slowed down entering turn 3 on lap number 1. His car suffered suspension damage, slowed down in the middle of the field, and then got absolutely sent by everyone else. Took him out of the race so early as a defending series champion, and now having to hold off Brandon Houff and company. He turned in front of the big pack, and it's a huge one in turn 3.
Oh, man, multiple cars involved in this one. Holy cow, that's going to ruin a lot of nights. Ford Martin's in it, Corey Deucer, Joshua Slate's in it. Oh, man, that's a lot of cars in that one. Roger Carruth, he doesn't look too bad, but he's collected in it as we're under the yellow here.
And Colin Fern's strategy, I guess, seemed to work. He started laughing over the radio as soon as this caution came out. And we'll take another look at it, Decon, and you see Brandon Houff, that Grit Esports Camaro goes right to the middle. Corey Heim, I think, just drifted a little too low, got too close to the sun, and got burnt on that one.
That's a good way to put it, as I believe race control is going to deem this one a racing incident. Yeah, just not enough real estate for everyone to fit there, but we have our first big one of the night here on lap number 7.
And remember, 3 wide through the first part of the field is going to get a bunch of drivers involved. Nick Olsen, Ford Martin, Ronnie Osmer, Will Rogers, the 99 of Mark Rabillis in his Bell South inspired car. He gets significant damage in this, and we'll take another look at it. This is from Olsen's perspective in the middle of the line. And one thing about these super speedway races, Dylan, is that as soon as you get into a crash, especially in a pack this tight, it is hard to escape.
Yes, and the other thing, you know, we mentioned earlier, there's no faster pairs in this. So if you bend a toe link, it's about a 45-second repair, and in addition to whatever else you may have wrong. If you lose a fender, it's about a 4-minute optional repair. You lose your hood, it's about 5. But if you bend a toe link, that's 48 seconds of required. And if you break it and lose a wheel, like I think a few of these guys did and needed a toe, that's an 8-minute required repair, and your night is basically done.
Well, the good thing is that these cars are a little heftier than those IRR1s we saw featured in race number 1, as there's Connor Berry being able to escape the incident. The 02 driver out of Menifee, California, able to get away from the carnage, as pretty much the entire field has found a way to pit road, many of them with quick splash and go calls, but for a majority of them, Decon trying to get damage repair, and that will leave, looks like Jordan Buster as the first car out of the lane at a 16.9 second pit lane time. It didn't even go to his box, so I'm not sure whether him and Michael Fisher decided to make any sort of strategy call. Everybody else 6 seconds on back, a lot of it for fuel only. And for those repairing their cars, I believe we're going to get a true diagnosis as to who's going to be probably taken out of this race at lap 9.
Yeah, it's really weird. I happened to be watching Jordan Buster as he was going down pit road. I think he just missed his box. So, of course, he started 19th position tonight, and he went back. He got all the way up to 2nd, but I think he just missed his pit stall. So, I mean, right now it's really nothing gained, nothing lost, because the tires don't really wear that much here at Daytona over that short period of time, unless you had to do some wreck avoidance. But if fuel might come into a factor, he'll have to pit a lot earlier than a lot of these guys. I'd say a lot earlier, about 7 or 8 laps. But it's very interesting.
So our first caution out here early in the race in the Highland Homes Roofing 200. And with that, we'll bring in the driver of the 96. And Colin, I guess it didn't take that long for us to bring you back in the booth. I heard you laughing over the radio. I guess your strategy worked to perfection. You stayed in the back. You saw all the carnage in front. You were able to get by. Just talk us through your perspective on the first incident tonight.
Man, these guys are so stupid. It's like I told them they were going to wreck early. And sure, yeah, you know what? They wrecked early, and then everyone that was riding in the back right in front of me and Reed decided that they wanted to pile into it too. It's the easiest strategy in the world. Like, you got a bunch of egos in here. Obviously, mine's the biggest, but we got a bunch of egos in here, and they think they're all Superman. They're all Dale Jr. and Jeff Gordon at these speedway races, but they couldn't drive a wood screw. So here we are. We're gonna roll up to like 25th here and be just fine.
I guess, does it help your strategy in any case, or does it change it at all? I mean, you just hung in the back and all of a sudden it worked for you. Are we going to see the same strategy again when we get this next restart?
Oh yeah, I ain't gonna race until I know I'm good on fuel at least, and even then I might not race then.
All right, Colin, well, we certainly appreciate the time. Saw you getting out of pit road. We're doubling up for the restart, so best of luck.
Thank you.
That's Colin Burnett. I guess, Dylan, not a surprise that was the reaction from Colin, no?
Well, I mean, he called it, did he not? He said he said word for word, these idiots are going to wreck early. These idiots are going to wreck pretty early. And guess what happened? They wrecked pretty early.
He saw the seas parting and he went through it, but he called the seas parting in the first place. I guess that's probably the situation you have to deal with at a track like Daytona. But we did see a lot of aggression early. 3 wide, of course, drivers really close to each other. Are we seeing that on this restart? Did the drivers get a little too comfortable on the opening jump?
I think they were just trying to test the waters, honestly. But I think you might see this go single file for a while and just kind of cruise around. Kind of like we saw at Indianapolis last week, where we had 1 or 2 big accidents, and then they were like, yeah, let's quit tearing up some cars at least till the end, and they just kind of rode around for about 50 or 60 laps. But I think you might see the same, but I think they'll be a little more tame. I don't think it'll just be straight single file, but I think you won't see as many 3 wide, 4 wide situations like we saw on that run there.
Well, you and Colin brought up great points in terms of fuel strategy. Colin said that he's not really going to race until he knows he's secure on fuel. You talked about how fuel strategy is going to affect this race as this caution comes out. We'll see how that storyline develops, but for now, Adam Cabot will have control of the field. Monin Rahman to his outside in row 1. Green flag back in the air. First restart at lap number 11, and it's a good jump by Cabot. Swings up top before turn 1. Here comes Sexton to the inside, but already more separation at the first 4 or 5 positions in the field. Sexton has to lag back and wait for Dakota Curtis to give him proper support. They're about almost 3 wide in the mid-pack. In fact, they are. It looks like no harm, no foul. Everybody okay, and more drivers being a little
one in the wall,
conservative. One in the wall. And it looks like that's Corey Deucer with right front damage.
Yeah, he might have some issues here. That right front is messed up. I imagine he is going to have some suspension damage with that, as he's going to get a push from, I believe that's Christopher Tate, but I think it's going to be all for naught. But I guess they don't just pay attention out here. I kind of thought they were going to go single file, at least for a minute, but I mean, they're still racing. I mean, Colin Byrne brings up an excellent point. Why would you want to race when you're not even going to make it on fuel yet? I mean, the fuel window is roughly about 35, I think it's about 40 laps or so, as Roger Carruth making a move to the front with Corey Highland behind him. But to finish first, a wise man once said, to finish first, you must first finish. So I don't think that's going through the mind of a lot of these guys.
The wise words that you harped on last week in Indianapolis. Remember when you said that about with the whole field crashing out almost, and we had many of those guys who survived the attrition to be able to stay out front and get some decent points out of that. Roger Carruth from 24th moves to the race lead, but the man who pushed him is now taking over the lead himself. Corey Heim, after being involved in that opening incident, has wasted absolutely no time to get back to the front. He'll get pushed by Adam Cabot entering turn 1, so I guess the aggression still up at an all-time high. They believe they can still race this aggressively and not wad them up. Bailey Turner is going to settle right behind Carruth's number 13 Camaro. He'll block all the way to the top side of the racetrack, and the first pack already about 10 or so cars deep.
Yeah, you saw the top line kind of bunch up. I think there was a big checkup as you had 2 truck regulars tangling to the front. And Corey Heim kind of fell back to 4th, but there was a big stack up there. I don't know what happened there, as there's about a 12-car breakaway. We had Matt Stolnick on cams earlier. He still got the race on behind him. Still hasn't sold those 2 premium seats behind him. Again, I imagine if you name the right price, he would let you sit there. Any sponsors that may be listening. So that's a fun little fact about Matt Stolnick. But Roger Carruth's still in control of this thing, and you're going to see the preferred line be this top line here, where Roger Carruth and Bailey Turner, Gary Sexton are running, because you also get a side draft from the wall, and that helps you create a little bit more pull down these back straightaways and into the corners.
Yeah, we talked about that a lot in that Summer Series race with these next-gen cars about how the drafting model works, and Colin gave a lot of his expertise on how the different lanes work, especially here at Daytona. It's rather interesting to see how the draft model affects everything, because before with the Gen 6s, we did have a super speedway model, but it was way different from what we're seeing with these next-gen cars. Of course, they're different machines entirely, so you'll have different characteristics between the two, but the drafting model over the last couple of years has absolutely transformed into what it is now. And Dylan, there are some challenges that are presented when you bring in a new car. You're bringing a brand new draft model that adds side draft, that adds an air bubble, that adds the looseness and the way the car handles in the middle of the pack. It definitely becomes interesting when you see how these drivers change their styles based on how this car reacts physically.
Yeah, it used to be if you had about 10 cars on the top here, like you see on your screen, and then you had about 3 or 4 on the bottom, that bottom line would be the more powerful one because, obviously physics, they're going the shorter length around the racetrack. But it's not really the case, again, with this weird draft package. Really, whoever's got the higher ground is going to be in a better position to do good things.
Well, you probably won't want to tell Anakin Skywalker that at all. High ground is the better place to be. But we got this outside line building up. Now the inside is getting a little more organized. They've picked up the last car in this 11-car pack. Mark Rabillas, who got the damage repair off of the first yellow. He is the 4th car on the inside, trying to all push Gary Sexton to the front of the field. There's a look on board with Rabillas currently inside the top 12. And I think this is the most separation, Dylan, we've seen from the first and second pack, because we did see some threads here and there in the first run up to that first caution. But now after this initial yellow at lap 17 and working over to lap number 20, the first fourth of this race, we're seeing guys like Reed Wilson and guys like Joey Padgett hang back, but by more than a couple of seconds. They want to be extra careful this time.
Yeah, like they're kind of sorting it out now. You had your guys that want to control the race that got up to the front. Roger Carruth definitely wants to control this race. He's one of the best super speedway racers in the entire service of iRacing. And, of course, he does this stuff for real. But the ones that want to get up there, control it, Corey Himes up there also, I think they made it aggressive just so they can get where they need to. And then they were like, okay, now we can chill out as you have Roger Carruth on your screen right there.
The 13 getting a big push from Bailey Turner in the 5, also one of the more aggressive drivers as of late in this series, and Corey Heim right behind. So 2 of the drivers in the top 3 actually getting ready for a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race at Homestead Miami Speedway this weekend. So they'll be out in South Florida trying to prepare what's going to be the deciding race for the Truck Series Championship 4. 1 car sideways right in the back of that pack, and that's Dakota Curtis in the 78, who got way out of shape, is able to collect it on the apron out of turn 2. And I believe either that was a faulty push or just a moment of getting loose, but it looks like contact.
Let's get wild up front here. Bailey Turner's going to the lead here. He was tired of sitting behind Roger Carruth as Roger gives him a big shove into the front stretch tri-oval. And Bailey Turner's going to lead this lap, but it got a little hairy right there as we were focused on the car going to the inside wall. As look at the run Gary Sexton got on the bottom there, as he's going to go lead the bottom line now, I believe. And Bailey Turner's your new leader, Kenneth.
Yeah, but Sexton got stalled out. Adam Cabot, Matt Stolnick are not going to go with the 3 cars, so he's going to stay down there. Adam Cabot's going to lose his support, so they might try and settle in on that very high side. Sexton's going to leave the space, and it'll be all single file at the top of the racetrack. Lap number 19,
1 car in the infield.
Sideways, and that is Monin Rahman trying to save it. He hangs on for the apron, and a great save by Rahman. He'll go sideways again, and Rahman keeps it together. We're going to stay green. Unbelievable save.
That's another thing that came up in the last update here on iRacing is they updated the grass physics. So the grass, it used to be you probably wouldn't lose too much speed as you went through the grass or even the sand trap at some road courses, but the grass has become grippier, so it slows you down like it would necessarily in real life. So I think he shaved off probably 60, 70 miles an hour just by going through the grass there. I mean, not that he decided to go through the grass, but it was that's one thing that came into play is that new update, again, with the grass and a few other physics features. So he's able to keep racing. Otherwise, he would have just slid up across the track, and it would have been good luck to everybody else in that second pack.
Yeah, when you add more grip to the grass, it certainly makes that endeavor for Mona and Robin much easier. I remember back at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park a couple of seasons ago with these cars, drivers were talking about the physics of the grass and how it was a little too slippery. As soon as you made a mistake, you were going into a wall, whether you liked it or not, and you cannot control the race car. Adam Cabot, by the way, takes the race lead. Bailey Turner going to give him the support on the outside, and they're trying to shuffle around the rest of the top 5. Matt Stolnick looking to make a charge happen on the low side. And Roger Caruth going to be the 3rd car on the top. We'll see if any of that changes. A little bit of a wiggle there from the 41. Bringing more cars in it.
Big accident in the back, about 5 or 6 cars. It could have been a lot bigger. But, man, Nick Olson's involved in this one again. We had 3 cars get turned around, and we're under caution here, Ken. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, all good. It's Alex Monteferrante, the car 97. You're watching at the center of your screen. He starts. It's our 2nd caution of the night at lap 21. Here's a look at it. I think off of turn 2, Monteferrante got a little unsettled. Mark Rabillas found the space on the top.
Poor Nick Olson.
Contact, bounce off each other, and Nick Olson, a poor driver of the 24. The lap car just staying out of the way, unfortunately gets caught up in it.
I think poor Nick Olson used to ball his luck last week because he's been involved in both accidents, and he's been an innocent bystander in both of them.
Look at it one more time. This is a wider shot, and Olson getting turned into the wall. Mark Rabillas able to almost get away. Michael Fisher in the 32 with a bit of damage. It looks like the 8 car up the road also picking up some damage there on his Chevrolet Camaro. And it's Alex Monteferrante getting caught up in the accident. We can confirm Jordan Buster, the other driver involved, just by a little bit. Here's a look on board. Robbie Lyons behind the incident.
Good avoidance by Robbie Lyons there. One thing that popped up during that, you saw a lot of cars get loose just naturally. When you start running a certain line just the whole time when we're under green, the tires wear enough where you could get loose and the tires could affect the handling of your race car. It used to be, you know, if you ran an NIS or you ran a full-length league race, whatever it may be here, you could just use the same set of tires the whole night and you were good. But now there's no way to manage it because the same thing will happen if you're on the bottom or the top. But tires do matter here after a certain amount of time, but if they keep wrecking, it really won't matter. But in this case, it did.
And it also couples, Dylan, with the sensitivity of these next-gen cars. When you had Gen 6 cars, they were a lot tougher in that steering aspect where they didn't have the rack and pinion steering system they have now. Cars weren't as twitchy or as sensitive as they are with this next-gen. So when you had that sensitive wheel and then you have the tires wearing, that marriage made in heaven, I guess, at a super speedway, or made in a nightmare, I guess, at these super speedway tracks could send you around and force these drivers to have to work a little harder behind the wheel. Quick splash and goes by a majority of the field. Adam Cabot in front, 23 laps in to the Highland Homes Roofing 200 here on Podium Esports. Don't go anywhere.
Mach 10. Let's give Mach 10.
You're cleared for takeoff.
Welcome back to Daytona Beach. Coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series is brought to you by Highland Homes Roofing. For all of your roofing needs, go to highlandhomesroofing.com. And by Mach10 Digital, where innovation meets creativity. Back live on Podium Esports, 24 laps into the Highland Homes Roofing 200. Kenneth Bueno and Dylan Connolly with you in the broadcast booth. Adam Cabot and Bailey Turner are set to lead the field back to green after our second caution of the night. Dylan, it's been rather chaotic. We saw a lot of aggressive racing at the beginning, then a 3-wide crash involving Corey Heim and many others, and then came this second crash that happened in the second pack near the rear of the field. So it's safe to say, I guess the aggression really hasn't turned down in any case.
Well, it turned out for a little bit, and then they were like, whatever happened, a light switch kicked on, and they were like, oh yeah, let's go start racing, and it kind of got hairy in the back. Up front, they were kind of tame, you know. I think Roger Carruth was kind of content just right behind Bailey, because, you know, Colin Firth said it best. Why are we racing right now when we still got a pit? I mean, it's pretty simple how he put it, because, again, I've said it many times, you don't want to wreck early and then not be able to finish the race. And let's welcome into the booth Presley Sora. Presley, how's your race going so far?
It's pretty good. I can't complain. Missed the first crash, qualified on pole, running top 5 still, so I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, you were tonight's pole sitter. You had a good view at everything. Was there any certain strategy, or were you just trying to make it to the end and figure out a strategy then?
Just kind of make it to the end and figure out a strategy then. I think we've still got a lot of torn up cars in the future, so hopefully the 98's not one of them. I'm going to try to just work with everybody I can and keep it up front and hopefully ahead of the wrecks.
All right, coming to the green here, Presley. Appreciate the time. Good luck.
Alrighty, thank you. I appreciate it.
That's Presley Sora, driver of the number 98. He'll start from 4th at the green flag behind the outside leader in the 5 of Bailey Turner. Early jump by Adam Cabot back under green from Daytona International Speedway, and that's a big gap, Dylan. Probably dangerous for Cabot, but he would duck right in front of Bailey Turner. So it looks like no problem for the two Camaros leading the charge into turn 1.
Adam Cabot did something really smart there. He got a big lead, but then he realized he got a big lead, and he kind of drug his brake because he slowed down a pretty decent amount and let the field catch up to him before they decided to do anything. So before they realized that anything could happen, he slowed up and let him catch up.
Yeah, smart move by Cabot to at least try to ensure that him and Turner would be up at the front of the field. And Bailey Turner, Dylan, comes off of a relentless effort at Indianapolis with the IR01s last week. He finished inside the top 10, but the driver out of McKinleyville, California, had a speeding penalty midway through the race, and that certainly gave him a shunt. But with everything that happened in the last half of the race, he was able to work his way back up through the attrition and was manageable with a 10th place finish at the checkered flag for Turner. Tonight is the possible opportunity at building on that relentless momentum to get his first career Monday Night Racing win. We'll take a look further back. This is Chase Cabrey, pole sitter from last week, moving into the top 6 for the first time tonight.
It's a big old snake going on here about the first 10 or 12 spots. Of course, as soon as I say that, somebody dips out. They're 3 wide. I believe that's Corey Heim. He's going to lead that bottom line, what little line that there is, as you're on board with the newest Tricon re-signee. As again, he's going to be with Tricon Garage next year in Craft Truck Series in real life.
They're trying their best to mount a charge on the inside, but to no avail. Corey Heim hasn't been able to find the magic quite yet. He'll put himself right in front of Michael Fisher in the 32 and try again. And I want to bring up a point that you mentioned a little earlier. Drivers checking up in the middle of the pack. That seems to be quite prevalent in these NASCAR next-gen cars and really any type of stock car racing at these larger super speedways. It becomes such a big effect when you have a lot of guys right next to each other, basically right on top of each other, at full throttle, pushing 100% of the time. You're going to find on inside and outside lanes drivers checking up, and it could cause a lot of miscommunication and possibly some carnage along the way as the top group of the field starts to pull away quite a bit. We look on board with Colin Firth back in 32nd, just hanging out.
So I mentioned that physics thing earlier where cars running side by side tend to go faster. Well, that's mainly when they're trying to pull away from someone. When they're broken up like they are right now, they really don't have lines organized. A group of 5 or 6 cars like this can easily pull away as long as they stay in line. but really there's no organization back there. You have two trying to pull away, but then the rest are just kind of spaced out. That's a great camera look by our great producer, Ryan Bauer. But they don't have their stuff together, and that's going to create a lot of issues for them later down the road. They're going to wonder, hey, why are we 5 seconds behind the top 6? And it's going to come back to a moment like this.
Well, it seems like they're all trying to fight for about the top 10 or so, and they're all led by, of course, Corey Hyman, the 11. Him and Roger Caruth earlier in this race trying to push each other the other way around. Caruth almost got turned at the exit of turn 4, and we probably could have seen a huge crash then, but Caruth somehow, I'm not sure exactly how he did, but I know he's a Craftsman Truck Series driver for a reason, was able to save the race car, and now here he is hanging in 7th behind Corey Heim in the 11th. And I'm sure these two have already built up a good relationship on track racing in real life, so I guess to see it translate into the sim, it's pretty fun to see, and they've worked rather well here at Daytona this evening.
That's funny you mentioned earlier that, you know, these guys that are in the truck series, they're going to be running at Homestead this weekend. This actually, believe it or not, is kind of somewhat of good practice, because the closer you can run to the wall, the faster you go here. It's the same thing at Homestead. Now, there's not as much draft involved there, but you're going to see that this weekend when they race there. They're going to want to get whoever can get the closest to the wall is going to do the best. And it's pretty much the same case here as long as you got drafting help behind you.
Full bias racing at the best track in NASCAR. That's all I'm going to say. No one can answer to me on that. But nonetheless, Corey Heim and Roger Caruth, that is a good point you bring up, that they working together on track and sim could help their practice for Homestead and just about, you know, anything else that they do on the sim, since they race often in other series or just even official racing. They get a lot of practice in the sim at tracks that they go to in real life and are able to perform rather well at. Here's a look on board with Gary Sexton driving inside the top 5. And while we talked about Corey Heim and Roger Caruth leading the second pack, Gary Sexton is at the tail end of the first pack, Dylan, and I'm surprised that we saw these 5 cars break away as far as they did. Was there anything that they did that was able to separate themselves from everyone else, or is it the rest of the pack just trying to chill out here at lap 31?
I mean, it's just organization, I think. These 5, you know, Cabot, Bailey Turner, Presley Sora, Mario Miranda, and Gary Sexton, they just stood in line and waited, because they kind of realized, because a lot of these guys, all 5 of them are pretty smart guys. They realize, if we stay organized like this and we just run a solid line along the top now to the bottom, while these guys are still trying to figure everything out from 6th on back, they're going to be able to pull away, and they have roughly about a 4-second lead back to that next pack of cars.
And what this is going to do, Dylan, as well, is help pit road strategy. If we stay green, these 5 cars can stick together when they go in and when they come out. And if they can do that with the advantage that they have in terms of space to the rest of the field comparatively, they can come out with a decent gap to everyone else and still be able to hold the same positions. And as we approach halfway in this race, these drivers did pit around 9 or so laps ago, so we should not expect strategy to come into the fray anytime soon. But you're probably thinking about that, right, Dylan? If you're the top 5, how far you are ahead, you could probably get the upper hand when you get to strategy time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, the other thing that was going to help, they're still going to have to pit. So if they can maintain this lead and they go in and come out as Adam Cabot's getting shoved by Bailey Turner, they're able to go in early and they'll still maintain this gap, and then all they have to do is just sit in line. They can race amongst themselves, and worst case scenario is, you know, if you make a move and you mess up, you finish 5th instead of 20th.
So the top 5 have broken away, separated themselves from everyone else, and it looks like everyone from 5th on back trying to settle where they're going to be placed. And if we stay as green as we do, there's everybody else. Long-term single file train going all the way back. We'll see how they fare if we end up in some sort of strategy talks. So Adam Cabot continues to lead tonight's Highland Homes Roofing 200, and coverage of the Monday Night Racing Pro Series is brought to you by Highland Homes Roofing. Since 1986, Highland Homes Roofing has been the #1 company you can trust for all of your roofing needs. Locally owned and operated in Sebastian, Florida, they don't use subcontractors, guaranteeing the quality and craftsmanship their clients have come to expect. Highland Homes Roofing is deeply involved in the community and have brought together the best local talent to create their roofing dream team. They take pride in all aspects of roofing and look forward to serving the area's roofing needs for many years to come. Financing is available, and for more information and to get a free quote, you can visit their website at www.highlandhomesroofing.com or find them on Facebook. Highland Homes Roofing. Trust them with all of your roofing needs.
Kenneth, how's your roof?
Laps in. Dylan,
I was going to ask how your roof is.
My roof is fine, I think, right now. I'm glad the hurricane season hasn't ravaged through the home, so I guess my shingles are perfectly fine. What about yours?
I think it's okay. I don't see it a whole lot, so it's still above me, which is good. So,
well, as long as it's just a footnote in your life, I think that's probably the best thing to think about. The fact that nothing's really happening to it. But nonetheless, we'll ride on board with Colin Fern in the 96. Why don't we take a listen, Dylan, to what Colin and his spotter are going through right now as he rides in 28.
I don't think we want to know, do we?
Well, I don't know if you guys want to know anything right now. I'm just chilling, you know, me and Joey and Reed and James. You know, James and I have had our issues, you know, over the years on this sim, but we kind of have the same mindset right now. It's just a waiting game. You know, eventually those egos up there are going to get impatient and they're going to wreck. So we're kind of just hanging out and gaining, you know, 0 on the leader, but gaining on the second pack a little bit. And yeah, we're just having a blast. John's doing a good job spotting, giving me gaps out front and kind of commentating what's going on, you know, up in the lead pack so I can know what kind of beef's going on. Shout out Moonhead.
So I got to ask your spotter, John. John, what's it like spotting this guy? Is it like a big headache? Are you constantly arguing, or is he actually pretty chill?
I mean, it's normally pretty chill. He has his moments, for sure. I can think of a couple, but a night like tonight is super chill. He's making it really easy. Actually getting a little bit sleepy just riding around back here, but we'll get up and race eventually.
I was about to say, he's been sitting single file for about 36 laps, hasn't he?
Yeah, single file. We lost the draft for a little bit. It's Daytona. That's usually how we do it here. Tends to work out in the end.
Yeah, that's usually the decision. So how has your Monday night racing experience been so far this year? I don't think you've passed a car this year, yet you've done pretty good, Colin.
Yeah, man, it's been, I mean, like I said, we finished 6th at Indy, didn't pass a single car all race, and I think we're just going to follow the same thing here. I can't wait till we get to the Gen 4s and finally get to race a little bit, because unfortunately I missed like 3 of the 4 Gen 4 races in the summer series, and I planned on waxing their ass a few times, and I guess we just have to save that for season 7.
Waxing their what now?
Yeah, you heard me.
Man. Well,
oh, man.
Well, I mean, luckily for you, Colin, there's going to be a lot of Gen 4 races on display, whether that's in the regular season or the playoffs. I mean, even next week, we're going to Michigan with the Gen 4. So I think all that you missed in the summer series is going to be made up for this time around, for sure.
Yeah, man, it's like Christmas in October, man. I'm excited.
All right, Colin. Well, we certainly appreciate the time. I know you're hanging back in the field and waiting for at least something to happen in the field, but we appreciate you.
No, not something. Big junk. Come on, man. Big junk, Kenneth.
All right,
say it with me.
Big junk.
There it is.
Well, big junk. Hopefully not big junk, but we'll get Colin out of here. Colin will be riding in the middle of the pack as we are 38 laps in. And Dylan, I think really quickly we are approaching halfway, 39 laps as we cross the stripe here from Daytona Beach, and the top 5 continue to stay out in front by multiple seconds, but I believe the gap is starting to shrink just a little bit, lap by lap. Roger Ruth and company have gotten their line organized, so they're starting to give something to the top 5, and they're going to make it a big statement once they get up there.
Yeah, we're almost to halfway. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're pretty good at math also. So time flies when you're having fun here, but that second pack is closing. I've noticed they finally, the big thing here at super speedways is if you can get organized, you'll be in good shape. And that second pack, they had to play catch up, and you know, I think Fern and that bunch are kind of doing the same thing. They've had to play catch up because they weren't really organized. They got organized too late, or they got in a precarious position where, you know, they lost the draft. But this second pack, they finally figured it out. You know, they line up. It's better to race for first than it is for 6th.
And for sure, we talk about strength of numbers here at these super speedways, but organization, like you said, is so pivotal in making sure that you and the drivers around you are able to have enough speed carried around this speedway to gain other packs, and of course, just be able to settle out from all of the chaos and all of the probably sketchiness that arises when you're going 2 or 3 wide in the middle of the pack, and drivers are sort of misaligned in their goals at that moment in time. So as these guys get more single file, they start to grow their speed. They're closing in on the main pack as we approach halfway in the Highland Homes Roofing 200. One driver I want to point out is the man sitting in 10th. That is Steve Alfont, the driver of the number 54 out of Milton, West Virginia. He started tonight's race, Dylan, in 34th position, dead last. He did not set a qualifying time, but through all of the carnage over the first 41 laps and through being able to get into this second pack, the Nintendo Camaro hanging into the top 10 for the first time all night long. Great to see.
Big fan of the Nintendo. Did you have a Nintendo growing up?
I had the Wii. That was my first Nintendo.
That's a good one.
Which one did you have?
I had the 64 for a little bit, and then it died of death, as most electronics do. But I had a Wii. Big Wii bowling guy. Was
oh yeah,
hard to beat on the Wii bowling.
Yeah, Wii bowling was one of my favorites. I mean, me and my sister used to tag back on the pro medal. Remember when you get past 9 points, you get that pro medal? Me and her would go back and forth on that for many years until I think she finally got it at the end. And then in tennis, I would wax anybody. Nobody wants to smoke with me in Wii Sports Tennis. Even Nintendo Switch Sports Tennis.
Yes.
We go into another generation with this. Wii Sports, nobody wants to smoke there. So watch Adam Cabot stay up in front. We just got to ride on board with Mario Miranda and Dylan. I'm sure that Mario is looking obviously for a better race tonight than Indianapolis. Of course, he was running up so well with that Sooner Esports car, and then all of a sudden he makes contact and then ends up in a situation, turn 3, in a big crash. And tonight it's been much better of a race for him, top 5 for most of the evening, and has consistently kept himself up with some of the heavy hitters in this series. Miranda, the driver out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, still making his name here in MNR.
Yeah, we go from Nintendo over to Mario immediately, and Mario's made a pretty good impression in this league. I mean, I don't think he's been involved in a wreck, even going back to the Summer Series, that was his fault directly, where he could have done anything different. When he's not involved in a wreck, he's one of the heavy hitters in this league, and he's, essentially this is the second race in the big Monday Night Racing outside of the Summer Series, but he made a big impact in the summer, and I think he earned the respect of a lot of the regulars that also raced in that.
I mean, you called one of his race victories, his only race victory in Monday Night Racing, that being the Gen 4s at Auto Club a couple of months ago. I mean, you got to see just how talented he is when he's able to stay on track, and if he doesn't find the bad luck that sometimes comes his way. And I like the camera there on the bottom right of Miranda because it's kind of like Hoodie Mello, but I guess Hoodie Mario in this sense.
What about this angle of Devin Henry as we're riding on board with him? Is that a good look? As he's back in 32nd position, I believe.
I think it's a good angle for Devin. He's the last driver on the lead lap in 32nd place, just hanging behind some of the traffic, and he was definitely excited. He posted on Twitter that he was excited to be back with Monday Night Racing, taking the next-gen cars here at Daytona, and he was in the booth with us for the IR01 opener qualifying session. He was there for around the last 20 minutes or so. So Devin is just hanging out right now. I love the car, though. Beautiful.
That's a good-looking car,
Dylan, and I don't think anyone could argue with this. I mean, this is just one of the best paint schemes we see in Monday Night Racing for sure.
I was checking out the T-shirt. Yeah, nice Chase Elliott T-shirt on. That's kind of a throwback shirt, but that was a good look. But
oh, there it is.
Yeah, a lot of good looking schemes, and what people know when they're on camera. People know that, like, hey, if I'm going to have my webcam on for this, I better wear a good shirt. And everyone's been dressed well. Mario's had his hoodie on. I believe Matt Stallnick, he had I couldn't remember who was on his T-shirt. It was a nice retro T-shirt, but I mean, everyone's dressed to impress here. I mean, because what's the old saying that Primetime says? So look good, feel good, race good, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. There's our driver wall. So there's the drip that the drivers have tonight. I guess the drip isn't really there for Gary Sexton. He's just got a plain colored shirt, but the party lights make up for it 100%.
Yeah, I'm looking at that, and then Matt's got the chest hair hanging out. He's trying to show off. And I'm looking at I'm trying to figure out who that is on the left there, because I'm not real good putting faces names. That is Ronnie Osmer, as I've been told in my ear. Ronnie's got a nice mural, I believe, from the 51 from the Days of Thunder. That would be, what was that, Rowdy Burns? That's a good looking wall mural there.
Yeah, beautiful with the Lumina right on the front. Love the colors on it, too. Ronnie Osmer, though, is not focused on that mural at all. Just dead focused on the screen as he tries to hold a pretty wheel here at Daytona. We cross the line for 34 laps to go. And I was about to say, I mean, you were making statements about drivers in this series dressing to impress. How about yourself? When you pulled up with the whole red and black suit, you had the drip tonight. I was certainly outdone in terms of the suit game tonight, 100%.
Well, I don't like to upstage the host, but, when you have the power, you try to do that once in a while. But, yeah, it's got to look good, man. You never know who's watching.
You look good. You look good. I love the suit color. Certainly.
But you know what? You look better, so.
Nah, that's not true. Not true at all. All right, Adam Cabot continues to lead this race, and this top 5 have not switched at all. It appears their strategy is just going to hold this out until we end up in green flag pit stop territory. Meanwhile, the second pack, well, they have a new leader in the form of Chase Cabry. Corey Heim has dropped all the way back to 13th. I believe he either tried some move to the outside or just wanted some space near the rear of this second pack, so he's tailing everybody here. Chase Cabry, though, going to waste the most fuel at the front. Roger Cruz going to stay behind him in 7th place.
Cabot is getting shoved by Bailey Turner up here, but they're staying single file. We're in kind of the red zone of, if you pit here, you can make it the rest of the way as we're approaching 32 laps to go. About the pit windows, if I remember correctly, anywhere from 43 to 47-ish laps. Again, they started with 75% fuel, but they've since refilled. That's only for the start. They don't have a 75% tank the whole race. They are able to refill the entire size of the fuel tank, but I think you might start to see in the next 5 or 10 laps guys coming down pit road.
I should expect that to happen, and there's going to be that toss-up on whether you want to pit now or whether you want to pit later. Obviously, you want to be in a range where whenever you pit, it's going to be safe to make it to the checkered flag, but in terms of cycling the entire field out, that's where the problem arises. If you pit a little too late, chances are you could cycle through the field in a position where you probably weren't in terms of being in a worse position, and all of a sudden you're having to cycle back. There's not enough time by the end of it, and there you go. Your position is going to be your position if there are no cautions. And then drivers who pit earlier, where they end up, it's going to be a huge development over the course of the race on who pits when and who's going to pit together. Because if there's one thing that you have to keep in mind when driving these super speedway tracks, Dylan, is that when you pit with a pack, you have to stay together. If you end up all by yourself at pit lane exit, you are going to be in a lot of trouble when you merge back.
So I do have a correction to make, and I'm usually good for one of these a week, but the fuel tank is 75% of the size of a normal fuel tank that you would have in your official races. There is a setting that you could have with the fixed setup or any other setup where you could set it to start with 75% of the fuel. The tank is actually 75% of the size of a normal NASCAR Cup Series Next Gen fuel tank. So that's a small correction there. So that would make, if it's about a 45 lap fuel window, that's going to shave it down to about 36, 37 laps. So I think we're going to see cars coming down pit road a little sooner than I thought.
Yeah, we have 28 laps for the main pack at the front. They are approaching lap traffic, which if they do get by, looks like they will, won't necessarily spell what I was going to say. If they hung back in the draft, able to save fuel quite a bit, but they are in turn going to put Devin Henry and Corey Deucer and Ronnie Osmer a lap down. So with all of those 3 cars, just staying with these Will Rogers and Nick Olsen lap cars in terms of things, they are going to be lapped by the main 5 cars, and we'll see exactly how 6 on back is going to deal with this pack, whether they get a little more hectic or whether it's sort of the same trend. As here comes Chase Cabry, Roger Caruth and company. Dylan, they're going to come down pit road, and a huge dive by Corey Heim passes multiple cars, and we don't know if he made pit road speed limit, but that was an absolute send to the commitment cone.
And there is a penalty. There is a penalty for that machine, as he did not get down to pit road speed in time, and that's going to be a big penalty and a big blow to him.
Corey Heim, the driver out of Marietta, Georgia, is going to suffer the first major penalty of the race, and it looked like, Decon, he was not going to make it on pit road speed limit. He was definitely cooking up the brakes. There's one car in this main pack coming in for pit road. It looks to be Ronnie Osmer into 55, but Heim almost ran into the rear of one of the cars back there. It appeared to have been the Nintendo machine that came down pit road, and it was certainly a really close call for all of them. It was, I believe, Joey Padgett he almost got into on the way down.
Yeah, coming into pit road, Heim surpassed a lot of cars. He about clobbered, we're trying to figure out who that was, Steve Uffon. He about clobbered Roger Caruth. He was going 35 miles an hour faster than the speed limit. Now, if you're driving that on the regular streets in your regular car, that's a hefty ticket if you get caught for speeding. So he's going to suffer a penalty there, as I believe he just decided to take the penalty while he was in his pit box, as you see the field fanning out coming down to pit road.
going to correct myself. You were right. Steve O'Fon, the 54 driver, he almost got into it. It's a safer approach for everybody here in this main pack of 5 with the addition of all those lap cars. So Corey Deucer, the 7 of Will Rogers, Nick Olsen, Devin Henry, they're all going to come in at lap number 54. So a little under 28 laps to go here from Daytona. And there's Nick Olsen getting his jacks lifted on the left side of his Chevrolet Camaro. Everybody else mostly going to take some fuel and tires. Bailey Turner going to try and lead them out, and he will win the race over Presley Sora and Adam Cabot and Gary Sexton. So a big movement there for Bailey Turner. Moves up to the net race lead.
I think everybody was nice and squeaky clean coming in and off of pit road so far. They got to see how they handle the blending line coming out there. Look, James Bickford there on board with him, the number 29 Phoenix machine, as they're all filing off pit road. I think everyone was squeaky clean there. I don't see anything different, but that was a big time move coming off pit road there. They're still side by side the corner coming off pit road.
Really close, and here comes Colin Fern entering pit road. He'll lead James Bickford, Christopher Tate, the 3F Racing Camaro, Joey Paget, who led a couple of laps there. It looks like Alex Monteferrante, the 99, right behind. Looks like Stephen Ellis is also in the lane. Reed Wilson making his stop. And so Jordan Buster will also follow suit. That will hand the lead to Bailey Turner and company with around 26 laps to go from Daytona. And for James Bickford, winner 3 times in the Summer Series, including a win here at Daytona with the next-gen cars. We talked about that race that Colin Fern commentated with us on the Podium Esports broadcast booth. Well, Bickford was the winner by 26 one-thousandths of a second. That was a win over Dale Tanhart. Bickford trying to go 2 in a row here with the next gens at Daytona as we go side by side behind them. Looks like Gary Sexton, Adam Cabot inexplicably going side by side, but Cabot will back out. And that leaves the top 4 separated with 2-car tandems.
And Gary had his hand up for some reason, as they are, I think yeah, he's wondering what Cabot was doing there, as he had a mysterious look on his face, as it seemed, but I think it's kind of sorted out. They're really spaced out all throughout the field. I'm kind of surprised, you know, with how there were essentially 3 packs. You had that last 5, you had the front 5, and then you had that pack in the middle, about 20 cars. But now it's really spaced out. So you have your top 6, and then you have about a pack of another 6 cars, and then a pack of another 6 cars. Then you go back, Steve Afonso all by himself, Dakota Curtis get caught by a pack of 6 cars. And then it's weird. It's really spaced out. I didn't really envision it going like this.
Well, I mean, we ended up in green flag pit stop territory, so we're seeing a lot more separation. And what that did do was, Dylan, go back to the point that I made about the top 5 being so up front in comparison to everyone else. Because of the space they had before the green flag pit stop territory arrived, now they have an extensive gap over everybody 6th on back. Raja Karuth is going to still lead this second group of cars. Now he's going to push Corey Heim, although Heim is currently 1 lap down in 31st with that pit road speed penalty. All these guys in the second pack, well, they have no chance against this 4-car brigade continuing to lead the charge. Bailey Turner, Miranda, Sexton, and Cabot, your current top 4 with 23 laps to go. And what's the mindset here, Decon? Is it to amp up the desperation for the second pack of cars, or are you just hoping and praying to the racing gods for a caution to even everybody out again?
Well, I think it's going to be different throughout the field. If you're not connected to that front pack of cars, like let's say if you're Presley Sora right now, you know, he's the odd man out. He kind of got shuffled out, but he's got a little help behind him. Once you want to catch up, you can afford to be a little aggressive. But if you're the rest of these cars, you still have an outside chance, because there's a bunch of time left in this race to catch up on pure pace, depending on what happens up here. But the aggression level up front, I think, it won't get tuned up until it's really too late, because I think these 4 are realizing, hey, we can stay in line until 3, 4, 5 to go, or however long. And they realize, hey, if they make a stupid move here, they're still going to finish top 4. So there's ways you have to think, like, can I get this win? If you think you can get this win, then you make a move. But if you don't think that you can, you just kind of ride. And, you know, I mean, for Bailey Turner, Mario Miranda, Gary Sexton, and Adam Cabot, even Presley Sora at 5th, this is a great points day. And the way that the points format is now that it's not win and you're in, you have to take points where you can get them. I mean, you really don't want to race you don't want to risk your future just trying to gain one position unless it's going for the win, I think.
That's a fantastic point. You took the words right out of my head as I was thinking about it over the course of this race, and as we're bringing it up, the fact that there's no more large desperation for winning races anymore. Yes, of course, drivers are going to want to win any race that they have a chance to, but if you finish second, third, fourth, fifth, maybe inside the top 10, you're probably not going to complain because overall consistency is going to matter. And this is going to be huge for a guy like Presley Sora because he came into tonight's race with a 4th place finish at Indianapolis just 1 week ago with the IR01s. Even if he finishes where he is right now, that's an average 4th and 5th place finish over 2 races that could elevate him to the points lead. Nick Olsen, who won last week's race, has had a pretty struggling outing after being involved in 2 incidents. He's 9 laps down in 33rd. Corey Deucer also has damage. He's 1 lap down in 30th. Brandon Half, we haven't heard that much of the 9 car yet, but he's still in this race, still alive in P14, but not as good as 5th right now. So Presley Sora has a chance potentially to take over the points lead if all push comes to shove and he's able to finish where he's at.
You know, there were 31 cars in that race last week. There's 34 that started the race this week. So that's roughly about 32 and a half cars, around 32, 33 or so. Essentially, half the field's going to make the playoffs here if you run all the races, if all these same usual suspects run every single week. So if you could just rack up a top 10, that's where I think you'll see the aggression is. If they think that they can get an extra point or two where they can get into the top 10 or get into the top 5 or even go win the race, I think you'll see that. But I mean, if you're Gary Sexton right now or say an Adam Cabot, I think you don't want to say you're content here. You still want to try to win the race, but if you finish 3rd, I don't think they'd be too disappointed in that.
And they won't. You look on board with the driver of the 4, Brett Baldeck out of Rochester, New York. He appears has gone a lap down here from the leader's most recent car to be put 1 lap behind the main pack. He is 26. Pretty beautiful Motorscape News paint on his Toyota Camry, and a pretty interesting development here with Roger Carruth. He moved up to the top, let a couple of cars by. Now he's 4th in the lane, so either looking to save fuel or just not really wanting to be where he was at that current moment in time. So he's going to tuck in right in front of Ford Martin, right behind the 41 of Matt Stolnick. 2 of the teammates at Crypto Autosport. And another look at the front top 4 continue to just hold out in front. 18 laps to go. It'll be 17 to go when we get the stripe next time by. And Dylan, these guys are absolutely chilling. If they see a yellow, surely the panic will probably come up at some point, but if it stays green from here on out and if it stays this clean, these guys have nothing to worry about. All they can do is just race for the win as cleanly as possible, and that's that. Wrap it up and go to Michigan.
Yeah, that's really all you can do. I think, I hate to say it now, I might put my foot in my mouth later, but I think Colin Firth might be wrong. I don't think, as much as these guys are spaced out, I don't think they're going to wreck. And if they do wreck it, unless you're in the top 4, then it's pretty stupid to wreck for, what's the saying he likes to use, wreck for 90th. So, I mean, you'll probably see them on the white flag or around 2 to go, like, you know, guys in the second pack like Juan Rahman, Matt Stolnick, Chase Cabry, all those guys. You might see them start to race, try to see who can finish first in the second pack. But I just don't see the reward in that. I'm like, yeah, congrats. Instead of 8th, you finish 6th. But, I mean, I think they're still going to try to work together. And then when it's getting pretty close to it being a lost cause, you might see them go side by side, try to race for that 6th position or that 7th position up there. But I just don't see it.
Just want to see, though, Dylan, if these 4 end up racing for the checkered flag and nothing else changes, who's going to separate and give support to the other? Is Bailey Turner going to go only with Adam Cabot? Is Sexton and Miranda, are they going to make a huge decision to go with one driver or the other? How pivotal will that be for the race win? Not writing it on the wall quite yet. Still about 16 laps to go. We'll see if anything changes here from Daytona Beach, but it's been a quiet affair in this second half. Just a reminder that coverage of tonight's Monday Night Racing Pro Series event from Daytona is brought to you by Mach10 Digital, your partner for stunning video production and digital marketing solutions. From concept to creation, they bring your vision to life with precision and creativity. Elevate your brand with captivating visuals and impactful messaging. From weddings to real estate videography, contact them today at Mach10digital.com for digital excellence. Mach10 Digital, where innovation meets creativity. And there's the teal, white, and black 07 of Ford Martin, sporting the Mach10 digital colors, a company he created over the past couple of months, and hence why we've seen some of the branding changes at Monday Night Racing, and Ford currently running inside the top 10. Certainly not complaining about his spot right now as he sits in the second pack of cars, and after Martin finished in the top 5 at Indianapolis, it's a pretty good running for car number 07, just hanging out.
Yeah, Ford's having a good night so far. He's strung together a pretty good race so far, sitting in 10th position. I mean, I think he'll take no matter what happens as long as he stays in the second pack, because he'll finish anywhere from 6th to 12th if everything stays how we think it's going to stay. But I'll tell you one thing up here as we look at the front pack again. One big factor in this that I don't think we've considered is you have Brett Baldick sitting there. Brett Baldick's not on the lead lap, so he's just kind of cruising. He would be the lucky dog if, you know, the caution came out, which I really don't think that there will be one. But if I'm Adam Cabot or Gary Sexton, I might shoot a text over to Brett Baldick, say, hey, buddy, you want to work with me here in about 10, 15 laps? But, I mean, Brett Baldick's going to have something to say about who wins this race, because if they go 2 by 2, whoever he falls in behind, I think is going to be the dominant line, because it'll just be 3 cars versus 2. Of course, unless, you know, someone decides to make it 3 wide. But I think Brett Baldick, if this stays green, is going to have something to say about the result of this race.
2 things off of your point. Number 1, you said that there might not be a yellow. I'm just going to say, don't jinx it, don't jinx it, don't jinx it. We've seen it so many times in a series, and a commentator's jinx is a very, very real thing. We still might see a caution inside 13 laps to go. And second thing, and Ryan Bauer just posted it in the broadcast chat, really good point, that Gary paints Brett's schemes that you see each and every week in Monday Night Racing, and even outside of it, where he races in leagues or when he races in officials. Gary is the main mastermind behind the colors and the schemes and the designs that you see on his Toyota Camry and even all of his other vehicles. So I guess a little buddy-buddy relationship there that could play a factor into the final couple of laps here.
Yeah, that's what I'd do if I was Gary Sexton. Say, hey, man, want a free paint scheme or 2? Why don't you come up here and push me?
I mean, any extra incentive to go out and win a race, and Gary Sexton has not been able to see a checkered flag in his Monday Night Racing career, at least not yet. His best chance, certainly fond in memory, was at Knoxville with the trucks ages ago, where he was up in the front by a long shot. It looked like nothing could take that race win away from him, and then lap truck in the middle of the track caught him right at the worst moment. He got right into him, and that was the caution that took him out of the race, and he was obviously frustrated. But ever since then, he's been very close to wins, specifically at these super speedways. If he can get Brett Baldick on his side, might up his advantage getting to the closing laps of tonight's race. The leaders will come around, 11 laps to go. Nobody has been able to get in front of Bailey Turner, but this is by design. Miranda has been pushing him lap after lap, but obviously just wanting to tuck in until the moment is right. As for everyone else, they're just trying to hope that a caution or something else levels the competition. Matt Stolnick, now the leader of the second group, in 6th place on board with Miranda.
So you have to feel hopeless if you're Presley Sorg, and he was kind of that lone man out to dry. He could still get caught by this 3rd pack back here, you know, that's led by Matt Stolnick and Raja Carruth at the moment. But if he could get these guys behind him to just stay in line and just protect and just run around, he could still lock up 5th place, and I think he'd go to the house with that and feel fine with it. But this race is far from over. I mean, he's about 5 seconds back from this front pack. He's running about 2/10 off of them. But then you go back to this second pack, they're running about a 10th quicker than this front pack of Bailey Turner, but I don't think they'll have enough time to make up that difference.
And they're going to need a monumental pickup in time if they want to definitely close that gap, because look how far it is. You can't see anyone out of the front end of the Mach10 digital Ford Mustang, and we were looking on the rear view cam there with Stolnick. I mean, him and Carruth, I mean, they've been all over the place. Carruth is trying to aggressively push car number 41, but almost getting into the quarter panel of him and almost turning him sideways. Stolnick is trying his dearest to keep that wheel steady and to not get spun around by Carruth, but the 13 is saying, hey, let's go, let's go, let's go. We're trying to catch up to the main pack. There's no time to waste, and for obvious reasons, Stolnick is just trying to make sure he can deal with the brunt of the push for long enough.
A lot of talking going on the server. I was just checking in. Colin Ferd's like, you idiots really couldn't wreck. It's really entertaining when you're able to scan all the drivers. You know, his prediction so far, knock on wood, is not going exactly how he thought. I think the thing that really threw a wrench into this is, you know, we had that front 5 and then we had that pack of 20 that was running down those 5. Well, that pack of 20 turned into 3 packs of 6, basically. And I think that's really thrown a wrench into this because now there's not a whole lot to race for. I mean, of course, unless you're in those 6-car packs, as we had something going on back there in that other pack as Devin Henry about sent Presley Sora into the wall off of turn 4. Sora had to do some driving there. Well, now Sora's let that pack behind them start to catch up a little bit, and they're discombobulated, so he'll be probably fighting for his life here for 5th. So we'll see how that goes. But meanwhile, up front, it's still a 4-car race on the lead lap, and Brett Baldeck in tow.
And just saw the replay there with what you talked about with Presley Sora. It just almost got spun completely around by Devin Henry, and now caught up in about a 3-car or so pack here with the 04 of Corey Deucer, the 97 of Alex Monteferrante, and it looks like Sora could hold on to 5th, no problem, since the cars around him are lap machines, but certainly does not want to lose any more time to that second pack, and it doesn't want any more scares, certainly, in the last laps of this race. We come around 7 laps to go here from the high banks of Daytona. Your top 4 still decided. Turner, Miranda, Sexton, and Cabot. They have not moved a muscle at the front of this field. They encountered the lap car Brett Baldeck, but nothing really has changed since. Now, the one thing I'll mention is that Matt Stolnick, who's leading this main second pack of cars, with Chase Cabry, Ford Martin giving the chase, is that they are catching up to the pack that involves Presley Sora. So Decon, this is good for them, even in the closing laps, because that means they can gain more cars, gain a bit more organization, and thus probably close in the time at least a little, or try to just fight for 5th if they can.
Yeah, that's where it might get aggressive. That's where the egos will come in that Colin Fern mentioned about, because finishing 5th sounds a whole lot better than finishing 6th, because you can say, oh yeah, I finished top 5. So if they happen to catch up here before they take the white flag here, you could see a big stupid accident for 5th place just to say, oh yeah, I got a top 5.
I mean, when there's points on the line and consistency matters in Season 7, you're probably going to do everything you can to get positions, let alone race wins. Bit of a gap here from Cabot on back, but he's going to mostly let them just hang around. Brett Baldeck is going to give him the support. Cabot kind of stuck in limbo, hasn't been able to build a substantial run, and now as they cross the line, it'll be 5 laps to go. Barney has the high 5 out. Colin Fern, meanwhile, back in 20th, is getting split through the middle, 3 wide. Dakota Curtis, James Bigford, Steve Alfont, and Steve Ellis among those getting around him, and Colin, of course, getting over the radio and expressing his displeasure.
Isn't he always?
No. Definitely not. You know what's interesting is that you brought up his strategy of staying in the back of the field and waiting for the entire field to wreck. It felt like first 2 cautions, he was the genius. He had this right in his back pocket, and then all of a sudden now he wants the field to get into a wreck so that everybody can have a chance at fighting for the race win. How the race turns around, I guess, when you've got green flag pit stops and now Colin has to fight for spots inside the top 20. Certainly wasn't hoping for a race to go this green and this separated.
I think we're setting up for a pretty good finish, though. It may not look like it with this top 4 being single file, but again, these 4 are going to want to win. I don't think you're going to see Adam Cabot. I don't think he's going to say, man, I'm just going to ride back here in 4th. I'll take this. But it's going to be a good finish here, because all 4 of these guys want to win. They want to say that they're a Monday Night Racing winner, and I'm telling you, it's about to heat up here in about a lap or 2.
And 3 of the cars in the top 4 have never won a Monday Night Racing event before. If we're excluding the Summer Series, of course, Miranda did win one a couple of months ago. But if we're talking strictly pro seasons entirely, Miranda hasn't been able to win one. Sexton hasn't been able to win one. Turner hasn't been able to get to the checkered flag first. Only Adam Cabot in the 17 has been able to win multiple races, let alone be in contention for a championship in Season 4 and then come around with a championship shot in Season 6 earlier this year. So there's a lot riding on the situation for 3 of these 4 guys. It's all about how risky they're willing to get as we approach 2 laps to go and 5 miles remain. Dylan, I'm sure if you're Miranda, you are strategizing your plan in a voice chat right now with Zero G teammate Gary Sexton on how they're going to plan this all through and try to get a W tonight.
Man, I think if you're Miranda and Sexton, you got to unite here and try to do this. I mean, make it where if I'm Gary Sexton, I'd say, oh, yeah, I'll help you out, but we're going to finish 1-2. Just don't know which order that 1-2 is going to be. So I think you might see Gary Sexton do that, and then Adam Cabot try to do his own thing and try to reel in somebody else back there. Brett Baldock back there. I couldn't remember his name. As they're going to see the white flag this time by is I think we're going to make it, knock on wood, without a wreck, at least to bring out a yellow.
So head for 3 and 4. Update on 5th on back. Presley Sora has been caught by Matt Stolnick, Chase Cabry, Connor Berry, and everyone else. Roger Caruth is trying to make position on the inside, but Bailey Turner will see the white flag in the Highland Homes Roofing 200 from Daytona. We've seen these top 4 be in a league of their own all race long. Now here comes a move unleashed into turn 1. Miranda to the inside for the lead.
Now you have to remember, if these 4 decide to wreck it up between each other, then that second pack's going to determine who the winner is tonight, and I'm not sure that they wouldn't do that. As Miranda's going to go down to the lead on the backstretch as they're single file again. Turner is shoving him down the backstretch, and if Cabot and Sexton can get linked up together, this one's not over.
That unraveled. Who was going to support who? Turner gets into Miranda. Miranda's going to save it. Cabot and Bailey Turner go up the track. Sexton's going to dive down, and that will leave all the time and space for Glen Garner, New Jersey's Adam Cabot to grab his first win in a while. Adam Cabot takes the checkered flag at Daytona.
What a finish! Oh man, it looked like they were all going to wreck. They all saved it. And that was I told you they were going to try to make sure not do anything stupid to make sure they finished the top 4, but they were. They did that perfectly. I think all 4 of those cars led at one point on the last lap.
And they were all over the place trying to decide the race, but it is the 17th.
Oh, wow, we got a big wreck in the back. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, there it is when you're fighting for 5th, no? Everybody else trying to decide it, but at the checkered flag, Adam Cabot is the winner of the Highland Homes Roofing 200 from Daytona, his first win since December of 2022, when he won with the Auto Club Speedway with the 1987 cars. And Cabot, by the way, Dylan, was 4th. The entire ride to that checkered flag, he did not unleash a pass attempt at all. He waited for the moment to strike, and when they all got haywire, the 17 took advantage, was able to keep his car as stable as possible, and Adam Cabot grabs his 5th career Monday Night Racing win.
So the grizzled veteran of Monday Night Racing of all the top 4 ends up getting the win here.
So Adam Cabot celebrates his 5th career MNR victory from Daytona, and on the other side of the break, we'll have post-race coverage of the Highland Homes Roofing 200 here from the Monday Night Racing Pro Series presented by Mach10 Digital on Podium Esports.
Mach10. Let's give Mach10.
You're cleared for takeoff. Request permission to engage with the test conducted staff. Over.
Welcome back to Daytona Beach. What a finish at the end of the Highland Homes Roofing 200. And this, Dylan Connolly, is the final lap. It's the fourth car in line, that black and red Camaro of Adam Cabot, who was able to survive the last lap mayhem to get his 5th career Monday Night Racing win. Tell us how it happened.
Man, there was a lot going on as they went down the backstretch. I literally think all 4 of the cars that were in that pack led at some point. It looked like I thought Gary Sexton was kind of out of it, but I was like, if Adam could get a good run here into 3 and 4, he'd have a shot at it. As top 2 were trying to make it where they would finish top 2, and I have no earthly idea how Mario Miranda saved that race car, as it was just a big pedal fest as they came down to the checkered flag here, as somehow none of them wrecked. They looked like they were wrecking for about a half lap, but at the end of the day, Adam Cabot, the grizzled veteran of the pack, ends up taking the victory. I mean, that was just outstanding driving and timing and a little bit of luck involved.
And for all 4 of those cars, they end up finishing this race 1, 2, 3, 4. So despite all of the chaos, they were able to keep it all together, avoided significant damage, and they still come away with some nice points at the end of tonight's 80-lap feature. Adam Cabot gets the win over Bailey Turner in the 5 car, who started 13th in tonight's race. Mario Miranda had a big save on the final lap. He comes away with a podium finish. Gary Sexton comes away with 4th. Connor, Barry, and everybody 5th on back, where they had an absolute duel to the finish line. Barry, the 2-time iRacing Off-Road Pro Championship driver, gets inside the top 5 from 16th. 6th place goes to the 39 of Chase Cabry. Monin Rahman comes from a 2nd place starting position to come home in 7th. Matt Stallnick arrives in 8th place. Ford Martin will have a 9th place finish here at Daytona. And Robbie Lyons, the Seminole, Florida native, Dylan Connolly, wraps up the top 10.
So we'll take you to 11th place. Joshua Slate finishing P11. Tonight's pole sitter, Presley Sora, brings it home in 12th. Michael Fisher had a low starting position, finishes 13th. 14th goes to Christopher Tate. Didn't mention him a whole lot tonight. Joey Padgett finishing P15. Jordan Buster, P16. Raja Caruth, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series driver, finishing 17th. Stephen Ellis, P18. Reed Wilson, 19th. And Dakota Curtis rounds out your top 20, Kenneth.
21st goes to the 54 of Steve Alfont. Colin Fern, our in-race reporter, is 22nd. 23rd would go to the previous winner here at Daytona in the Summer Series, James Bickford. He is the final driver to finish this race on the lead lap. Brandon Half, who started in 4th, he comes away with 1 lap down in 24th place. Cole Cabry wraps up the top 25. Grant Baldick was put a lap down near the end of the race. He is 26th. 27th goes to the 97 of Alex Monteferrante. Corey Deucer had damage suffered early in the race. He comes home in 28th. 29th to the Glendale, Arizona native of Devin Henry. Corey Heim rounds out the top 30. Then goes Ronnie Osmer, Nick Olson, Mark Rebillis, and Will Rogers among those involved in the first caution of the race at around lap 7. A lot of them dealing with damage that they could not recover from. Well, let's see if we can bring in our top 3, and we'll start with the Tulsa, Oklahoma native of Mario Miranda. Decon, take it away. You're with the 3rd place finisher.
And we welcome Mario Miranda in here. Mario, it looked like you were about 90 degrees to the inside wall in turn number 3, and you end up bringing it home 3rd. Did you think you were going to finish 3rd on that last lap?
Yeah, I had no idea where I was going to finish, but I knew it was going to be a top 5 finish, no matter what happened. I was just super lucky I found myself in that position with those 4 to 5 guys there, and yeah, I did find myself looking to the inside wall, but luckily when I was born, cars just came out, so I think that helped when my parents showed me that when I was a baby. So, but it was fun racing up front.
No way to make me feel old to believe that movie Cars came out in 2006. So I vividly remember 2006. Your strategy worked out well all night. It actually worked out. And I mentioned this during the broadcast. When you're not involved in a wreck that's not your doing, you're usually going to have something to say about how this race ends up. Is that a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment. Yeah, the Summer Series, I think every race I was wrecked in, even the race I won at Auto Club, I got wrecked by the great Cabry. So, yeah, usually if I stay clean, I'm in the top 3 fighting, and I don't mean that in a cocky way. I seem to find myself in a good position to be a contender near the end of the race.
You're certainly making Sooner Esports proud. Anyone you want to thank, Mario?
Yeah, I just want to thank the people at OU Esports, Sooner Esports. They support me day in and day out. No matter what I do, they support me 100% in everything. And then shout out to Twisted Tech and Team Watson Racing. Those guys have helped my sim career tremendously with both publicity and just support. And shout out to you guys for putting on these amazing streams and having great commentary every race.
You know, I hate to say I have to cheer against you next year when Oklahoma joins the SEC, but now I'm a fan, so congratulations on the P3 tonight, and good luck the rest of the year. I tell you, that win's coming, I think.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to next week. I think that could be our win.
That was Mario Miranda, our third place finisher. I believe that Kenneth is standing by with our second place finisher, Bailey Turner.
Yes, sir. I've got Bailey Turner with us, finishing second here from Daytona. What a chaotic final lap it was between you and the rest of the top four. Did you expect it to go that way?
Yeah, I mean, a few laps before that, me and Adam kind of made that decision to move to the top just because I felt like we could protect a little bit better there and not be subject to some massive run. But Mario did a good job of making a move, and I couldn't cover it in time. And he ended up getting clear of me, and I just knew, all right, I just had to wait for my help because I knew Adam was behind me, and tried to make that move on the end of the straightaway. And I think he said he thought he could cover it, and unfortunately kind of screwed my momentum up. And we didn't take tires the whole last half of the race, so by the time Adam made contact with my bumper, I was already wrecking loose. So did all I could to save it, and apologies to Gary for possibly ruining his chance to win, but I was doing all I could to hang on there. But just honestly so happy with how we all kind of worked together there, and Adam and I kind of put a game plan in, and just about every single plate race we do, we always try to manage to lead every lap and be up front, which I feel like we do a pretty good job of, but then something always happens at the end where we get wrecked or some caution comes out that just absolutely ruins it. So I feel like this is the, I don't know, probably fourth time I've been leading, taking the white flag in a plate race in MNR and came home P2 or worse. So hopefully we'll turn that luck around maybe later in the season at the next plate race.
And I gotta say, you were an absolute wheelman as you were trying to save that race car in the corners when you and Mario Miranda got collected together, and you and Adam Cabot going side by side for what was at that point the race lead. But I know that the driving up at the front of the field and the clean driving certainly got you up there, but the strategy played a big part in that. You in the top 4 and top 5 at one point just broke away by such a large margin. Talk us through how you guys were able to orchestrate that strategy and create just a symphony between you four at the front.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like we had probably the 5 smartest guys up there that we could have. Everybody kind of understood the assignment and just sticking together, and we knew some guys were going to try to lay back. So, at a certain point, I was worried about fuel. I didn't know what the fuel strategy was going to be, but I knew it was like, let's just get out in front and kind of make time on these guys and don't give them an opportunity to catch us. And I think for some reason they ended up trying to short pit us, which put them in even worse position that I was in fuel going full throttle every lap. So I knew if a green white checkered came out, I only had about a lap or 2 left of fuel. So yeah, luckily that worked out, and can't thank Mario and Gary and I know Presley was up there as well, and maybe another 1 or 2 guys that was just so consistent with the pushes and doing such a good job. And me and Adam, I feel like we have that chemistry where we load into any kind of super speedway style race and in this next gen car, and I feel like we have the field covered as long as we work together and keep everything in order. So yeah, super happy about that, and thankful for MNR for putting this on again. This is always such a fun race and event to do, so super happy about that.
Teamwork making the dream work near the end of tonight's race from Daytona, and Gen 4 is coming up next at Michigan. I'm sure you're very excited about that. We saw a lot of your skill with the Gen 4 cars in the Summer Series a couple of months ago. What do we expect at Michigan next week?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure. I've been, I feel like that whole Summer Series that we did, I'd only ran about 3 or 4 races with that car and didn't really know what I was doing. So hopefully I'll feel a little more prepared coming into this next stretch of races with the Gen 4 and kind of move from that. I feel like I was always constantly right around that P3 to P5 range. So if we can move into that top 2, that'd be great. So, pretty good competition here with the Chase and Cole and Adam, and always got Corey. I feel like Corey's always up there in any car he drives. So it'll be quite the challenge going forward. But looking forward to it.
All right, Bailey. Well, we certainly appreciate the time. Always a good time talking to you. Congrats on the second place outing from all of us at the broadcast team, and best of luck at Michigan next week.
Appreciate it, guys.
So Bailey Turner in the 5 comes away with second here at the World Center of Racing. And why don't we bring in the man who occupies victory lane for the 5th time in his Monday Night Racing career, Adam Cabot. And Adam, 4th place you were near the end of this race, and somehow you come away with the top top position. How did that all happen? What was going through your mind, and what are the emotions after your 5th career win?
Well, the key word is somehow. This is probably the first time I can ever say I, accidentally won a race because I was committed to Bailey Turner all night. We just dominate these super speedway races every time we come here in the next gen car. Frankly, we make it look easy. We kind of just know that every time that we hook up in these races, we're going to go to the front and we're going to lead a bunch of laps, but we've never been able to close the deal. The ongoing joke is, yeah, we know we're going to lead the most laps. We do it every time, but how are we going to throw it away with, 5 to go, 10 to go? Because that's just always kind of how it goes. Usually these races just end with complete chaos. But, we were just watching the laps click down and watching that gap build and build to that second pack. Even towards the end, like I felt like we weren't even, we're only 4 cars. And I got kind of separated back there because I accidentally took tires in the last stop. Didn't mean to do that. But that lost me the lead there, which honestly could have been a good thing because, the leader rarely seems to win one of these things if you're leading coming to the white flag. But we had plenty of time to kind of think about, hey, what are we going to do here? It's 2v2, really, 2 sets of teammates. They're going to make a move at some point, and when they do, I'll just, I'll be committed to your bumper. And that's what the plan was the whole last lap. I just tried to line myself up and give Bailey as good of a push as I could going into 1 when they made their initial move. And then they started tandeming down the backstretch, and I thought they were kind of just leave us. And the winning move wasn't probably anything I did on the track. It was probably what I said to Bailey. I said, hey, don't wait to make your move because, why wait until the very last second to make your move when it's just the 2 of us? There's not a whole pack of cars behind us. Like, make your move early and I'm going to go with you. And there's no way he's going to draft by us by himself. So make your move now and, I'll be committed to your bumper. And I was hoping to either push Bailey Turner to his first career win or, if we got way cleared out ahead of them, try to duck out the last second myself and make the pass. But the goal for us was to finish 1-2, make sure at least one of us won. But then, things got crazy. Big block was thrown, and somehow all 4 of us kept it straight. And I'd line myself up with Bailey just to give him a huge shot going into 3 after, after the big block was thrown there. And I guess me bumping into the back of him, just instead of propelling him forward like he usually does in the next gen, just kind of loosened him up a little bit and snuck under him. And all of a sudden, I'm in turn 4 and there's no cars in front of me. And I just see a couple cars behind me. I'm like, damn, all right, I guess we're going to come away with the win tonight. So, wasn't really expecting that. Usually these races, pretty much everything that these super speedway races and Monday racing typically are, it wasn't tonight, which, might not have been too exciting, for the viewers having everything all strung out, but the strategy aspect of it was definitely interesting. And just to, usually you're happy coming away from these races with just like a top 10, top 5, that feels like a win. So actually winning one of these things, that's a pretty damn awesome start to the season.
So I know this is the last super speedway race of the regular season. You have a bunch of races coming up before the playoffs, and of course you got to like your positioning after the win tonight. But you got a bunch of Gen 4 races. They are at Old Atlanta, Charlotte, Michigan. You got a couple pro truck races at Watkins Glen and Wild West. GT4 is at Long Beach. Are there any races before the season 7 playoffs that just stick out to you? Like, man, I think I could have a good night there, or is it really just all of them?
Any of the Gen 4 races. That's the best part of the schedule, is looking at the schedule and seeing it packed with Gen 4 races, because that car is so much fun to drive. And I started racing it a few months ago in another league on Saturday night racing. So much fun. Check them out if you're looking for a good Gen 4 Saturday night league, as well as Beat the DY on Tuesday nights. So gotten some experience in that car, and it really, not only is it a blast to drive, and not only does it put on amazing racing, but it really fits my skill set. So I'm gonna try to win them all. That's that's always the goal. But I think that I can contend in all those races as long as I don't know if there's any on short tracks that I might struggle with a little bit. But any of those Gen 4 races and the rest of them. Wild West. Literally Wild West. GT4 at Long Beach. I have no idea what to expect with that, but that's kind of the fun of Monday Night Racing. There's always a couple car track combos where you either haven't ever driven the track, haven't ever driven the car, or maybe both. So, but yeah, the Gen 4 races, man, I'm glad that's where the season's ending. I'm glad we got plenty of them in the regular season. So now just need to not crash too much and stay in the top 12, and we should be pretty looking like we're in pretty good shape for the playoffs here.
So speaking of those points, Adam, you are the new points leader. Before we send you away so you can go celebrate, is there anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, gotta thank Bailey Turner. I mean, we just worked together so well all night. His time has come, and his win is right around the corner. I know it is. But for us to actually execute the whole race, I mean, like I said, we always go out there, we always dominate these super speedways. But whether it's our own execution and making a mistake, or just getting swept up in others' messes at the end, it never really works out right. So to actually come out of here with a 1-2 is pretty damn awesome. So huge shout out to Bailey.
Well, Adam, we appreciate the time. Good job tonight. Don't go too crazy. Remember, it is only a Monday night, so the rest of the work week's coming up. But appreciate you and great job.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
That was tonight's race winner, Adam Cabot, and our new points leader, Adam Cabot, as well, Kenneth.
He was looking forward to all of those Gen 4 races, Decon, and the good news is that our first Gen 4 race of the season is only a week away. Michigan International Speedway will welcome the Monday Night Racing Season 7 field. They'll take the Gen 4s there on October 23rd. You can find that 1 week from tonight, Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and the same place as always, the twitch.tv/Podium Esports. That'll be a lot of fun from Brooklyn, Michigan. But for now, we wrap up what happened at Daytona, and I'm sure strategy is going to be in the minds of everybody at the wrap-up of this race. That was really the catalyst of what pushed these top four so far away from everybody else. We're able to hold the fort down for the last sector, and then at that last lap, going absolutely crazy, and Adam Cabot, the fourth car in line, being able to take away the win here at the World Center of Racing. I mean, what an ending we had there. I mean, probably weren't expecting a super exciting one, considering we spent a bulk of that race dealing with strategy and a lot of single file racing, but they stunned us at the end. These drivers were absolute wheelmen at the end, and Adam Cabot coming away with the win in the last turn and a half or so.
Well, I thought it was going to be an exciting finish, even with the way it was strung out, because I was like, okay, these four are going to be tired of waiting in line for 35 to 40 laps, and I knew the gloves were going to come off on the last lap, and that last lap felt like it took 5 minutes with as much action that was packed in there. But I think all four of the drivers were in all four of the positions at one point on that last lap.
And they were all over the place. You saw cars sideways, beating and banging on each other, and it's the 17 of Adam Cabot who comes away with the race win here at Daytona. There's a lot of excitement to be had at Michigan 1 week from tonight, but it's one Adam Cabot having the celebrations all to himself. The 17 burns it down here from the World Center of Racing, his 5th career MNR victory. So for Ford Martin and everyone at Monday Night Racing, Brandon Davis and Michael Hall in race control, for Gary Sexton at Podium Esports, for our camera builder Dougie Beard, our overlay builder Michael Hall, for Cameron Aubernon on our social media pages, and for our crew on the broadcast tonight, to our stellar producer Ryan Bauer and my colleague in the booth tonight, Dylan Connolly. My name is Kenneth Bueno. The Highland Homes Roofing 200 goes to Adam Cabot. We'll see you next Monday night from Michigan International Speedway.